Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another Verbaling class. My name is Hamish. I'll be taking you through this Verbaling, that is Ielts speaking preparation class today. We're going to concentrate on part 1 of the Ielts speaking exam. So we're going to practice the types of questions that we commonly and can quite predictably see as part of the part 1 section. Let me say hello to Jarno. Hello, Jarno. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm actually eating right now and having my lunch.
It's lunchtime. Okay, well, I will come back to you respectfully.
No, it's okay.
No problem at all. And these first 2 minutes of the class are for Verbaling premium users. If you find that it's difficult for yourself to book a space in the class that you particularly want to do, please consider upgrading your membership to Verbaling Premium. There, I put the link there in the chat box. You can check that out, and that gives you an opportunity in the first 2 minutes of the class that you really want to attend to get your spot, to get your chair at the table, and make sure that you get to participate and get some time with the teacher in those classes. So I also want to put some other links in here where we have our 2 minutes. Let me see. Let me give you my Facebook page, okay, and that will have news about other classes that I'm doing here on Verbaling. I also want to give you the link to the official Ielts website, and that is going to give you all the information you need about when and where and how much, and how to apply, and also has some really good information and guidance about how best to prepare for each of the 4 sections of the Ielts exam, including the speaking section. They have some videos on there from students who have taken the IELTS speaking, all of the IELTS exam before, and they have some good advice for people who are planning to take it. Let me see. I also have one more. Here we go. And this is a little Google Doc that you can look at, something I'm sharing with you today, and it is advice for the part that we're looking at. So this is advice for part 1 of the exam, so feel free to check that out. It's got some example questions in there, but also some good information about what part 1 is actually about. All right, let me say hello to students who are joining our class. Let me see. Carlos. Hello, Carlos.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
Okay, I'm good. Thank you, Hamish.
Excellent.
I'm expecting your class.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm glad to see you here. Are you remind me, are you planning to take the IELTS exam, or are you here just to practice your speaking with us?
I prefer to practice my exam. I am preparing English exam, so I'm preparing advanced C1.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm not yet, but okay. So I would like to. How do you prepare exam? How are the exam? How do we need to be success? To learn overall.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's great stuff. Well, I hope we have a really helpful class for you today, Carlos. I want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us here at Verbaling as well. Let me say hello to Ahmed. Hello, Ahmed. Ahmed El Sharif. Can you hear me, Ahmed? I'm going to wait. You might need to unmute your microphone, Ahmed, for us to be able to hear you. Let me move on in the meantime to, is it Chiara or Chiara? Hello? Oh, tell me again. I didn't hear that. I'm not able to hear you right now. I'm a little crackle when you speak, but I'm not getting the sound. Oh. Yeah, I can see you, but I can't hear you. It's crackling when you try to speak. So you want to check your settings. I think I have a link here. If there are any problems with the Google Hangout, let me see. Yeah, that might be something to do with this. So let me see. I'm going to put a link. Kara, I'm going to put a link in the. Okay. Oh, that's better actually.
Is it better now? Okay, good.
It's a little bit quiet, but I can hear you. Let's begin. Tell me, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you. It's actually the first springy day here in Italy, so love.
Oh, it's okay. It's Kira, I'm so sorry. It's coming and going. It's coming and going. I'm gonna put you on my list here, but I tell you what, either check the settings here or on the computer, and click that link. And I hope we'll get some good sound from you later on. It'll be good to meet you, though, Chiara. Mahmoud Ahmed. Hello, Mahmoud.
Hi, teacher.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Welcome back to class. Good to see you. Well, good to hear you, at least.
Thank you.
I look forward to practicing with you. Hello to Shelley. Hello, Shelley.
Hello, nice to see you again.
How are you today?
I'm pretty good. My mother visited me from Taiwan, and we had a good time.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to be talking about family today in class.
Oh.
That's one of the things where I'm going to practice. We're going to do some practice questions on just that subject. So I look forward to hearing from you on that. Okay, good to see you, Shelley. Let me see. Jose Garcia. Hello, Jose.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Jose, how are you doing today?
I am today's party in Spain. I am rest. I am resting.
Oh, very nice, very nice. And how's the weather? Is it warm? Is it warm over there in Spain?
Yes, today is warm. Today is sunny. Today is pretty day.
That sounds pretty good. It's a beautiful blue sky here in Tennessee,
Yes.
but I know it's cold. I think it's going to snow later on, so it's not summer yet, apparently. All right, good to see you, Jose. I'm back with you. Jarno, are you how was lunch?
Oh, it was delicious.
That's very good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, I had 2 minutes to finish it, so.
Sometimes
done.
we have to move fast, yeah.
Yeah. One of the things in life, you know.
I know. I think we all have to learn to slow down. I think
Yeah.
life moves too fast for me. I'm
Time
exhausted already.
management.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a very, very important thing. I wish we were doing a job interview class today. I'd love to talk about time management with you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
I want to check.
Nice to be here.
Oh, and a pleasure to have you. Chiara, how's your sound now? No, it's still not happening for me, Chiara. I'm so sorry. It's Chiara, when you speak, I know that there's a crackle, so I know it's happening, but I can't actually hear the words. It sounds just like a distortion. So if you want to check anything else, and I can come back to you later in the class for practice. I mean, I'll keep trying to see if we can hear. It's very close. Sometimes it comes in, but it wouldn't work for practice right now. So to see if there's anything you can adjust with your settings or anything that the Google help. Yeah, okay. And I promise I'll come back to you, Chiara, later on. All right. Now, first of all, before we start, we are going to look today. We're going to focus on part 1 of the Ielts speaking section. Ielts is an exam that you take. Some people take if they want to emigrate and live permanently in an English-speaking country. Other people take it if they want to continue to do their studies, a master's degree, for example, in an English-speaking school, college, or university. It's also something a lot of people need to take if they want to work in a European or English-speaking country as well. It's historically, most of the time, it's been for British countries or countries connected to Britain, like Australia, New Zealand, countries like that. And the TOEFL exam has been more for North America, for the United States. But that's not always true anymore. And sometimes you'll have a choice about which IELTS exam you want. And I want to give you, let me see, I think I had one more link here. Aha, yes, here we go. One more link just before we start. And this is a lot of students asking me about, well, is IELTS the right one, or is TOEFL the right exam for them? And I see that, yeah, ESLabout.com has just produced a paper, some guidance about, a way you can work through and decide quite early on, okay, which is the right exam for me? Which one do I need? And also, which one is easier? And that question is different. Whether it's easier, whether it's the right choice, it's different depending on what you want to do and really how you like to take exams, because they're quite different. So I would take a look at that link. If you're unsure about which one you might want to pursue, which one you might want to take and try to get your required score in the future. So I'd recommend you take a look at that. I thought it was a very interesting, a very helpful piece of guidance that I saw on that website. So yeah, so IELTS is the whole thing. The speaking section rather is about 14, 15 minutes long. Part 1 is maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Can anyone tell me before we start what kind of questions do they ask you in part 1 of the IELTS speaking section?
I think.
Mm-hmm.
Should I go?
Yeah, sure, Mahmoud, go ahead.
What I know about part 1 of the speaking test is that they ask you very general and familiar questions, and that are related to you, like your family, your hometown, your work, maybe your education, etc. That are uh, very closely related to you, and you can easily answer them.
I like that's a good answer. Thank you, Mahmoud. Thank you for that. And I mean, you're absolutely right in terms of the type of questions they're going to ask. They are personal. They're not rude. They're about you, and only really you can answer these questions. In part 3 of the speaking section, it's very different. The questions are much broader, much more general. So, for example, in part 1, if we're talking about education, they could ask, well, are you a student? And if so, oh, what are you studying? And then in part 2, it's still personal. They could still ask you about education, but this time, tell me about your favorite class, your favorite subject at school. Tell me about a favorite teacher when you were at school, or a favorite professor at school or university. But then in part 3, maybe they'll still ask you about education, but it's a much broader question. Perhaps they would say, well, what makes a good teacher? Do you think education in your country will get better or worse over the next 20 years? What's the best way for helping kids learn in school? What role does the family have in helping children learn? So part 3, much more general. You shouldn't have to be an expert in any subject in the IELTS, apart from English maybe, in the IELTS speaking section, but you should be able to speak about what has happened to you. Shelley, that's a good question. Shelley's asking about time limits. In part 1, they expect it to last 4 or 5 minutes, and they will ask you a series of questions, so not just one subject. So they'll be they'll ask you to confirm your name, to confirm your identity. Of course, they'll introduce themselves, but for example, they'll probably ask you, are you a student or do you work? And they'll ask you questions about that, maybe about the family, and then other personal subjects. There's not a time limit, but for these part 1 questions, just for part 1, not parts 2 or 3, for part 1 questions, they're expecting you to give them, first of all, a direct answer. So we're not veering around the answer, we're giving a straight answer. So if it's like, do you work or do you study? You can say, I study, I'm a student. But then give them a little bit more. So think of this in terms of 2 or 3 things, or 2 or 3 sentences in an answer. A question in the chat, a difference between teacher and professor. Well, it kind of depends on the language. I mean, for example, in the United States, someone who teaches a college or university course, they can be called an instructor. In the UK, they're a lecturer. So and a professor can be different as well. The vocabulary is different. We obviously a teacher could teach elementary school or secondary school or high school, but a professor is very much reserved for university or college education. Carlos asking about open or closed questions. Well, I suppose they're going to be mostly open. The very first of all, of course, they're asking you to confirm you are who you are. So that's a pretty closed question. That's a yes or no, and you'll show your identification. Easy done. But most of the questions you get are very much going to be open questions, because they don't want to give you a yes or no question, because obviously it's far too easy just to give that yes or no response, and most of them will be open. And in part 2, absolutely, there are open questions. These will not be, do you have a favorite song, or do you have a favorite time in your childhood, it'll be describe or tell me about a favorite time. Yeah, you will have a task, and so you'll have to give them. If they ask about a favorite story you read as a child, you're going to have to give them a favorite story. Sometimes you might have to make that up, but you can't say, "Oh, I didn't really read books," or we didn't read a lot as a family. That answer isn't going to work, because they're not asking, "Do you have one? Did you have one?" No, it's describe it. Describe it. So either we give our answer, or we make one up. So but yes, Mahmoud was absolutely right in terms of the types of questions. Let's start. Let's take a look first of all at some family questions. And again, in the context of the IELTS exam, of course, the person you're speaking to is really a complete stranger. And in some cultures, clearly, for someone just to be asking you about your family and what you do and what your sister does, well, that can be that's too much. But this is not just a chat. It's not a friend. It's not a casual conversation. It's an English exam. So we need to make sure we give them some direct answers. And of course, if we're not comfortable talking about family, the more practice we get, the more comfortable we're going to be. And we can remind ourselves, okay, this is just an exam. This is not a chat with a new friend or anything like that. So I just need to concentrate on giving the good information with good English. So let's take a start now. I think. Let me see. Oh yes, Carlos, are you happy to start with us today?
Okay.
All right. So let's imagine first of all that we've introduced ourselves. I've checked your identification, so I know you're Carlos, and you know I'm Hamish. You know I'm your examiner for the speaking section. They'll move very quickly on to questions about work, education, family, job, all those good things, and they'll make it very clear. They'll say, "Oh well, I'd like to learn a little bit about your family," and so you know, okay, oh, all right, okay, we're doing family questions. So you have a couple of seconds to think. Okay, yes, I practiced this, I prepared this. So Carlos, let me give you 3 or 4 questions about your family, and we'll try that.
A type of introduction. Okay, yes, my name is Carlos. I'm from Spain. I live in the center of Spain, in the region of La Mancha. I live with my family. I'm married. I have 2 children, and they are at school. And also, I have a mother. My mother lives in a town close my place I live in today, and I used to visit her once a week.
Okay. No, that's interesting. Thanks, Carlos. You've got children. Are you able to spend a lot of time with your kids?
Yes, I would like to spend more time with my kids, but in the moment I only can stay with them at the evening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And when you're with them in the evening, what kinds of things do you like to do as a family?
Okay, we used to go shopping, the food for the 2 forthcoming day, and also we should to attend homeworks with my kids.
Homework, excellent. Okay. What subjects do they need help with?
Okay, yes. Overall, they need mathematics and English.
Excellent,
Okay.
excellent. Carlos, do you think people in your country are generally close to their families?
Yes, I totally agree. I think it's a kind of way of life. Family is very important here in Spain. I think as well in other countries. But we should to be very close. We don't allow to stay very much time without contact. We need to be in contact, physical contact, and also by phone if you are living abroad or in another city. We need to stay. We need information about our family almost every day, and we should to attend important dates as a wedding or a birthday or Christmas, or Easter even.
All right. Thanks, Carlos. That was really good. Thanks, first of all, for being number one with us today, because that can be difficult, I know. Carlos, what do you think of those questions? Because those are very typical questions. If the examiner wants to ask about your family and talk about family, I mean, are those questions surprising, or are they easy or difficult? What do you think?
I think it's a normal question. It's not very difficult. It's very easy, very natural. So you can feel comfortable with these questions. Or at least if they ask some very personal question, you can feel uncomfortable. But this kind of question, they are, I think, very comfortable.
Okay, absolutely, and I think that's a good point, Carlos. That while they will. It's quite likely they'll ask questions about family, but they're not. I mean, these questions will still be quite general, and it could be describe your family. How big is your family? Where does your family live? Do you have a big family? Questions like that. They're not going to be much more personal than that.
I have a question. I mean, what happened in the case? Just in case the examiner asks you for personal things and you don't want to tell. For example, are you married? Okay, it's not your business. Okay, so I mean, it's
a really good question. I'm sorry, I'm only laughing because I kind of liked your response.
It's only a question. If you are not comfortable, okay, I prefer to speak about other things. I'd rather speak about other things because you are not comfortable about your family or your personal life. Okay.
Yeah, I believe that the questions they ask, I mean, they're very close to the questions we just talked about just now. If we look at this at a level where if someone doesn't want to say whether they're married or not, if someone doesn't want to talk about how many children they have, for example, that's a problem in the Ielts exam. They are expecting because what this exam is for is can you work in that country, can you study in that country, can you live in that country. The British Council would say these questions are just standard questions, and in the culture of those countries, they would be acceptable. So we need to give them a direct answer. We can't talk around it. I don't think there's much chance that for example, I don't think they're going to ask you anything that you would find difficult. You answered those questions, in terms of the information, very easily. So if they ask you something you don't want to answer, I think, to be honest, if they ask you a question, then we need to answer it. But I don't think they'll ask you anything that is too personal, really.
It's only curiosity, it's not more.
Yeah. But it's a good question. But we certainly, a lot of people, of course, and I mean this for everyone. And by the way, Carlos, thank you for your answers. I thought you were able to explain yourself pretty well today. So thank you for that, Carlos.
Thank you too.
Yeah, just for everybody here, in terms of I understand. I mean, if I meet a complete stranger in an exam, I don't feel fantastic speaking to them about my family. I don't feel fantastic at all because it's an exam, and I'll be nervous. Of course I will. But if we know, let's think about these questions before the exam, and if we think to ourselves, okay, well, I know they might ask about family, or they might ask about my childhood. If I'm uncomfortable talking about those things, I need to practice. I need to prepare so that I feel more confident, and so I feel more comfortable. So when it comes to those questions in the exam, if they come up, then I can answer them without feeling upset. Because if I'm upset or if I'm uncomfortable, you hear it right here, okay? If we're nervous or anxious, the sound is not as good. And if you don't sound as good, the English isn't as good. We need to be as relaxed as possible in the speaking section, because the more relaxed you are, the better your sound. the better you're going to score, because they can hear you more easily if you're answering in a relaxed, confident way. And sometimes, sure, we're just confident. Other times, you might need to fake it a little bit. Fake it until maybe part 2 of the exam, where magically you are feeling more confident. Yeah. So it's going to be, for a lot of students, it's a big part of your preparation to practice questions you don't really like answering, so that you're more confident during the spoken part. Let me move on 1 second. You're having to slow down there. Let me see. Where are we? Oh yes, Mahmoud, are you happy to practice with us today?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Let's continue. Let's continue with these family questions. Now, a very typical first question for them to ask, and let me start my practice with Mahmoud by asking, could you describe your family for me, please?
Yes, I have actually quite a big family. I have 2 brothers and 4 sisters. My brothers are working while my sisters are studying. My father is also a ex-army man, and he is doing his business now, while my mother is a housewife and she stays at home.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. How much time do you spend with your family?
Actually, I do not get a chance to spend much time with my family, because at the moment I'm working, and I've said my brothers are also working. My father owns a business and he's doing business. So actually we get little time to hang out together, and usually it's in evening or at night, the dinner we meet together and have some time together. But I like to spend more time with them, and usually it's holidays or the day off we have. We usually try to spend it together as much as we can.
Okay, and so all right. So you want to spend time. Do you get along? Do you get along with your family?
Yeah, I do get along with my family. That's why I'm so keen on spending more time with them.
Okay, and I think it sounds like you have a close family, and you have a big family with all your brothers and sisters. Is that typical for your country? Do families in your country have big families with maybe 6 or 7 kids?
I can't really say that it's a trend of having larger families, but it's usual for in our country that to have 4, 5, or 6 family members. Even some people have 6 or 7 kids. So it isn't I can't generalize it, but I say it's normal.
Okay, Mahmoud, thank you. And it can be quite common for the examiner to finish with a more general question, and then they move on to part 2. Sometimes they do, and these questions, these family questions, maybe they start with those, and then they could go on to like a couple of other things. And it could be all sorts of things. I have my cheat list here. It could be where you're staying, food, daily routine, what you like to do in your spare time. Mahmoud, when we think about those family questions, were they easy for you? What do you think?
Yeah, they were easy, but actually it was, as you said earlier, I didn't felt very comfortable speaking them with a stranger at first, but after 1 or 2 questions, it got normal, and it wasn't a problem anymore, and I feel relaxed. And then I told myself that it's just a practice.
Oh, so absolutely.
No need to worry.
I think that's really good advice. I think that's a really good thing for everybody here. Absolutely. I mean, it is just a practice, and also if you want, if you're going to make a mistake, make it here, right? Make it here on verbling, because nothing bad is going to happen, right? And all that happens with a mistake is, well, we can learn from that and get even better. So we have an opportunity to speak and try, and if we make mistakes, it doesn't matter one bit. And Mahmoud, I think what you said about about the questions about family. I think that's really interesting, and I think really positive as well. And I would also say when we get questions that feel personal, it's worth remembering and preparing and thinking about this exam. When you get a personal question, the examiner isn't asking because they want to know. They don't really want to know about your family. They want to know about your answer, because this is a test of English. Maybe they have 20 exams that they do during the day. Whatever you tell them, the next day they probably won't even remember, because they've spoken to so many students. Of course, they're listening hard, and they're going to hear the things you say, but they're listening for your language. They're listening for your ability to describe, explain, your intonation, your word choice or vocabulary, your grammar, your fluency, your pronunciation, and your talking speed. They're looking for all those things. In terms of the actual information, it's not so important. So I hope that reduces some of the pressure and some of the discomfort to know that they're not really interested in our family or members of our family. They just want to see if we can answer questions like this, because questions like this will absolutely come up with strangers in English-speaking countries and people you just meet. It's very common to talk about family. So yeah, Mehmood, thank you for practicing with us as well. I wanted to say that. All right, let me see. I've got a question here. Shelley, that's a good question about who, when we say describe your family, that's really up to you. If you want to include your parents or your or the kids, I would really it's your choice who you want to talk about in terms of explaining that. And I mean, for example, if some people, they have children and they're living with their parents, so you have those 3 generations in one home. In that case, I think it would make absolute sense to talk about your parents, yourselves, and your wife or husband, and your kids as well. I mean, that's just one example. Of course, for a lot of people, of course, their parents aren't living or they don't have kids, so that's going to affect their answer. But if you have a big family, if you're close to all your family, then that's great, because you have more people to talk about, I suppose. But yes, it's up to you really what you think of as your family, and to give that description to the examiner. Absolutely. Jarno, I'm coming back to you. Are you happy to practice with us today? Jarno, are you still there with us?
Yes, I am here.
All right, excellent. Are you happy to practice?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you clear. That's perfect. All right, Jarno.
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay, good.
We're going to practice again. Carry on with these family questions. So no surprises for you, I don't think. Now, first of all, let me begin. And again, I've checked your identification. I've introduced myself. Perhaps we've talked about either work or education. And now, I'd like now to talk about family. Could you describe your family for me, please?
Okay, I'm married and I have a wife and I have 2 dogs, and then I have a big sister, and she is 2 years older than me, and I have quite big family. I have lots of relatives. But my close family is quite, how to say, I live from other part of Finland. My other family live, so we have a distance between us.
Okay,
so.
Okay. And is that true? Is that true for your? Are you living close with your parents? And,
I live close with my wife, my 5 family. So my family lives other side of Finland. So.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. So how often how often do you get to visit the other part of your family?
Maybe 3 or 4 times a year.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And when you do that, I mean, do you go to them or do they go to you?
It depends on the work situation, but normally we go there and they come here. So
okay, all right. And when you do that, if you visit them or if they visit you, what kinds of things do you like to do together?
if they come here, we go to the beach. If it's in summer.
Okay.
So we have a lovely beach here. So normally we go swimming, and after that we go maybe shopping, and then we normally have a sauna in the evening, and then we eat something and socialize together.
Okay, right.
That kind of things.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. Is there someone in your family who do you think you're closest to in your family?
Currently with my wife. Of course.
That's good. and after that, after your wife, who are you closest to?
I think it's my sister and yeah.
Okay, very, Jarno, thank you for those answers. I thought they were very interesting. A highlight for me was when you were talking about the different things you would do together, because I thought that was a very nice detail, very nice description in terms of, okay, we have one side of Finland doing one thing, but if they come to your side, okay, well then we have the sea and the beach, and it was just really nicely described, and I thought very natural. And a very fluent part of your answer as well, and just very believable. And so that these are good things to be doing in an answer. And yes, I like that point about the beach. I mean, I thought it was all pretty good. In terms of, pronunciation, I think it's a funny word, isn't it? Because really, we think about Scandinavian countries. Well, I think you probably get to decide how we pronounce sauna, but. If we're using British English, there's not much difference. But if we use British English to use that word, we're going to give it a kind of a long sauna. And in North America, it's going to be just a quicker sauna kind of thing. So the off sound is still there, but Americans, sometimes their words are a little quicker. It's up to you, by the way, if you're preparing for the Ielts exam, if you want to use British English or American English, they don't care, okay? So choose the one you're most comfortable with, the one you're most confident with. Don't worry about, American or English pronunciation or word choice. These examiners, they'll understand either way, okay? For me, I would use the British because I had 39 years experience of that, but really it doesn't matter. People look at this British Council exam and think, oh, I have to speak in a British way. It's not true at all. And if you look on the IELTS website, you'll see very clearly that they don't mind which one you use. They just want to hear some clear, communicative English.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead. Sure.
Does it matter if, for example, I would speak both, like English or American English? Does it matter if I change?
That's an interesting question. I think to be completely honest, it's not going to matter that much. I think it would be better to choose one and stick with it. But for example, if you're speaking generally with British pronunciation, and then you're thinking of a word and you happen to choose, maybe you're talking about cars, and the vocabulary with between British and American very different when they're talking about cars, or the contents of houses. There's a lot of different vocabulary. So maybe you're talking about the car and you start thinking, well, I know it's that thing in the back is a trunk, because you can't remember that it's boot in British. That's not going to matter one bit, not at all. In fact, I think it would be kind of fun and sweet to do that. I mean, it's better to stick with one, but that's not on the list of things they're worried about. They're not thinking, well, is he being consistent with British or American? Not at all. Their list is, grammar, fluency, word choice, pronunciation, talking speed, you know, that kind of thing. So in terms of the differences, it's so far down their list that I would not worry about it. Just if you have a word in English on either side, and it's the best word to describe or explain or tell a story, use that one. Yeah, it's not going to matter too much if it's British or American.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
question, though. Thank you.
I had to ask this question because in school we are taught, you know, British English, but
Yeah.
if you know, we watch TV, so all TV shows are broadcasted from America and Hollywood films and things like that. So my English is mixed totally. So I use both.
No, absolutely, and hey, and Jonah, mine too, absolutely. And I think in 50 years' time, maybe 20 years' time, it's going to matter even less, because if we think about it, there are more people in the world speaking English who aren't British or American than there are British and Americans speaking English. So I think it's probably the rest of the world to decide, you know, what is the correct word to use for parts of the car, and what is the correct pronunciation, and then maybe the British and Americans will have to catch up in the future with maybe a third form. So it's an interesting subject, but not what we're here today. So let me move on. And Jarno, thank you so much for practicing with us. Let me see where we are. Shelley, are you there? Would you like to practice with us?
Okay.
All right. I know. You asked a question earlier on, and I was happy to answer that. I want to stay with family for this, maybe for this hour, but certainly for your practice, Shelley. So the same kinds of questions. No big surprises in these questions. I think we all know pretty much what they are by now. But so let's pretend we've introduced each other. You show me your identification. I probably asked you about work, education, so we may have talked, or you'll have talked for a minute or two about those things. And then it's very like, you know, one of the things they often ask about is family. So we talked about work or study. And now, Shelley, I'd like to talk now about family. Could you describe your family for me, please?
Okay. I'm married. I live with my husband and the children. We are from Taiwan, but we are living in Japan now. We have been living abroad for many years. And my parental family and my husband's family are all living in Taiwan, but they visit us very often. So just like yesterday, my mother visited me. And
wow.
yeah.
So how long does it take, the journey between Japan and Taiwan?
It will take about 3 hours by airplane. Yeah.
Okay. And you say that they often visit. I mean, how often do they make that trip to come and see you?
Yeah, I think about once a month.
Oh, that's pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
Once a month. Very good. So when they do visit, and sorry, before, how many children do you have, Shelley? I
have 2 children.
2 children. How old are they?
Yeah. They are 16 years old and 14 years old.
Okay. And I mean, when maybe if your parents come and visit, what kinds of things do you do together? What do you like to do together as a family?
Yeah, whenever they come to visit us, we like to go traveling. So we have visited many places in Japan.
Oh, right. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Do you get on well with your family? Is it easy to spend time with your family?
Yes, I think so. I'm lucky that my mother-in-law is a very nice person. Yeah, then my parental family, of course, they treat me very well. So I think I'm very lucky, yes.
What an excellent answer, Shelley. Thank you so much. Thank you for practicing with us.
Thank you.
I really liked your answers. I think you were very well prepared to give me some good details about these things. Oh, Carlos is saying goodbye. Thanks. Just say that. And I thought some very fluent answers as well to these questions. Are you? I mean, how do you feel, Shelley, about talking about these things? Are you comfortable talking about family things? Sorry, Shelley. Are you happy to talk about family things with people like this? Is that okay for you? I can't hear Shelley anymore. Let me come back to you if we have time. But anyway, Shelley, if you can hear me, thank you so much for practicing with us. I thought you gave some very good examples and details. It was fluent and descriptive and really quite confident. So I thought that was a pretty good example for us today in some of these answers. I think everybody has done very well today so far, by the way. So thank you, everyone, for that. Let me move along. Yes, we lost her 1 second. Let's see. David, hello. David Ramirez. I haven't spoken to you today. How are you?
Fine, and you?
I'm pretty good. Welcome to class. Are you happy to practice with us today?
Yes, because I have the exam in 3 weeks.
Oh my goodness, I thought you were going to say the exam in 5 minutes. in which case, tell me earlier. 3 weeks. All right, very good. Are you taking the general exam or the academic exam?
The first certificate. So the general.
General, okay. And the speaking section is the same in both cases. But I'm always interested to hear, why someone is taking the exam. Very good. Well, let's see. Again, I want to continue with our family questions. So you're going to get some really the same kinds of questions that the other students have had in class today. So we've introduced each other, maybe asked about work, study, whatever we've done, and then if the examiner chooses to talk about family, they'll give you a big clue by saying, oh, and well, I'd like to talk about family now. And probably they'll start with a question like, oh, David, please, can you describe your family for me?
Yes, we are a very close family. My parents are working. They are working at a supermarket. My sister is working as a biological, and me, I am trying to find a work. And we are all close family, and we live all each other. We live in the same house.
All right. So, oh, I see. Okay. Well, that's a very close family then. So, what kinds of things do you like to do together as a family?
I like cooking. Also travel, and also go to disco.
All right, and so cooking. I mean, does your family eat together? Do you eat at the same time?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends at the hour they finish the work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And do you get along with all of your family? If you're all in the same house, is it easy to live with your family?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
These are called. I have a lawyer, a student who's a lawyer, and sometimes I say, so you have to stop being a lawyer now and give me a direct answer. But David, thank you. I think that again, it's so interesting because we all have different. Most of us have a family of some kind, a family to describe. But there's so many different situations, and really, of course, that's why it's such a common question to be asked, not just in this exam, but inevitably, if you go to work or study or live in an English-speaking country, they're going to ask you these questions. So that's why the British Council want you to demonstrate that you can talk about these things comfortably and with confidence as well. I liked your answers. I just added one thing to the chat there. I think your sister, I'm guessing she is a biologist. That would be the name of her job, David. So I put that on the chat board. Were those questions okay for you, David? What do you think?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah, and you gave me a lot of detail at the beginning, and of course it's we kind of want to give everything that we have at the start. But again, I would concentrate, and I mean this for everybody, in part one, give sort of 2 to 3 sentence answers, so that, or really 2 to 3 things. So it's, if they ask that question, for example, do you have a big family? Then you could first of all say, well, yes, I do, and then give that extra detail. Oh, I have 4 brothers, or I have a lot of cousins, that kind of thing. And then, of course, just like David does, if you're all living together in the same place, or as Jonah was, if your family is some of your family is living quite far away, or indeed, in Shelley's case, if they're living in a different country, then we can give those details in quite a condensed way. And those are great details to give the examiner, because it shows you're able to give a clear picture of what your family circumstances are. So, David, thank you for practicing with us. I appreciate it. Let me move on. Let me see. Sepkin, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Where are you from?
I'm from Turkey.
Turkey, very nice. Welcome to Verbling. Welcome to this IELTS class. Are you happy to practice with us?
It's my first class. Yes, I'm very happy.
All right.
To join you.
Excellent. I want to ask you some of these family questions again. So the same questions we've had a few times now. And Sepkin, we're absolutely, you can imagine, I ask you for your identification in this exam, and you show your ID card or your passport. We do that. I tell you my name, and they'll definitely ask about work or study, and then they'll ask some other questions. And family, that could be one thing they ask about. It's a very common thing for them to ask about. So let me begin my practice with you, Sepkin, by asking, could you describe your family, please?
Yes, of course. I'm married. I and my husband are foresters, and I have 2 daughters. They are 11 and 9 years old, and my father and mother lives in another city, and it's far away from us. And I can see them once a year. I have 2 brothers. They live and they work in another city too.
Okay. You mentioned, I mean, if your parents are further away, and maybe you see them once a year. When you do see them, if you're able to visit them, or if they're able to visit you, what kinds of things do you like to do together as a family?
We visit different places in our city if they come, or when we are there, we talk together.
Okay. Yeah.
And I visit my friends too in their city. I see relatives like this.
Okay. Thank you, Sepkin. And that's again a different, you're in a different situation than everyone else here. I mean, so you can tell a different kind of story. So we can think about what we have, our family, and they're always unique. They're always a little bit different from someone else's. So I think it's always interesting, and it's why we get these questions so often in English-speaking countries, but in other countries, many countries around the world, so common to exchange information about the kind of family that we have, especially if we get on well with them, the kind of things we like to do, how much time we spend, and often in the United States, where I work now, there's a lot of pressure. It's felt that people don't spend enough time with their family, with their parents or their kids. So I thought I know you were working hard, Sepkin, to give me some of those answers, but I appreciate you trying hard. Because that's how we prepare. That's how we get better at this. So thank you for doing that with us today. I just have got time for one more. So let me go to Adam, who has been waiting patiently. Adam, are you there today?
Yes, I am here. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm very well. Let me ask you some very similar questions to the
Okay.
ones the other students have, and this will be our last practice today. Adam, good to meet you. We did the work and education questions. Oh, and now the examiner, he ruffles his paper or her paper and says, "Oh, let's talk about family." Adam, can you describe your family to me?
Okay. I have a very sweet family. I live with my both parents. I do have 4 siblings. I'm the second one. I have just one older than me. Actually, I'm a student at the university here, so most of the time far from them. I do call them from time to time to check them. I really, when I come there, most of the time we go out together in order to have a fun time and to refresh and talk about life and what we had most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how often do you get a chance to visit them?
Once in 2 weeks maybe. I go for 1 or 2 days and then come back.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long does that take? I mean, how long is the journey?
The journey, actually, we go for maybe 7 hours. Maybe it would last for 7 hours, maybe. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Adam. Thank you. I know you saw some of those questions coming. So, so you gave me a lot of good information about the size of your family, and where they were, the kind of things you like to do together. So that was some really good detail information. I thought you were pretty fluent. Oh, let me switch off that so I don't hear myself again. That's always horrifying. Adam, thank you so much for being our final practice today. I appreciate you hanging in there and waiting for your practice. I have to say goodbye to you all now because I'm out of time. But thanks again. We're actually doing this class again later on. You can check the schedule on Verbling if you want to do some more practice in Ielts speaking, and particularly Part 1 questions. We're going to do that in a few more hours here on Verbling. Thanks to everybody who practiced with me. Thanks for everybody for your questions and your discussion. I really enjoyed hearing all your answers today.
Okay.
Please follow me on Facebook, and I will see you all again soon. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Good night. Bye-bye.